Ships. They've been traveling the oceans ever since man discovered how to build a boat nearly 10,000 years ago. They've traveled countless miles, back and forth from continent to continent, from island to island, transporting tons of goods across the sea. But what happens to these vessels when they sink?
So when these ships become shipwrecked, they're filled with pollutants. But let's just pretend it's been so long that the pollutants don't matter anymore. Life starts to colonize the wrecks. First we see small plants, algae, and then smaller fish, crabs, move in. Then we start to see larger fish that eat the crabs, that eat the plants, and the ship becomes a thriving ecosystem. Even though the biodiversity at the shipwreck may be increasing, the biodiversity of the surrounding areas is decreasing. Just think, you take a thriving ecosystem and you place it in the middle of a large, flat, sandy bottom. Everything is going to go to it because it has all the resources that the creatures need. It's just like if you take, for example, the fast food industry right off the highway. Everyone needs a bathroom break and a quick meal, so they just go to it. Or even in a desert with an oasis and the surrounding tribes, they're all going to go for it for water. Not only does it take away from the biodiversity, it allows for overfishing. Because all the fish congregate around these ships, the fishermen can find them more easily. And since they don't have to work as hard to get all these fish, the population becomes diminished.
Even though overfishing could be a concern, it is only one con among many pros. Even though the biodiversity in some places may be lost, in other parts of the world, it has the potential to help. Boating can ruin coral reefs. When a boat sinks near a coral reef, it can help to replace the damaged parts.
You can actually tell how old the shipwreck is by what type of coral grows on it. For example, stony coral likes newer shipwrecks, as opposed to soft coral which will grow on older shipwrecks. The coral can't grow everywhere though. Some paints on the ships make it impossible for them to grow. The chemicals are hazardous to them. To name a specific chemical, tributylin, also known as TBT. Many boats have their hulls painted with paint containing TBT. The paint is made specifically to prevent plant growth. If the paint wasn't used, these plants would build up on the bottom of boats and water would not flow as smoothly across them. And the plants also corrode the hull. It is necessary for boats to have this paint because you can't clean your boat after every use to prevent the plant growth yourself. But boats aren't meant to be sunk anyway, so it's not all bad. Once these ecosystems get started, they're really tough to stop. You can find pretty much anything you would find at a larger reef at one of these shipwrecks. Once the coral settles, the whole ecosystem follows. Even though it may resemble the larger reef, it can never completely replace the reef because, well, it's not the original. It does provide shelter for all the creatures down there, and food, and pretty much everything essential to their life.
Shipwrecks aren't the only artificial environment for sea life. There are other man-made environments. Some, which are made of cement, are sunk purposely to help the reefs.
There's no real downside to these artificial environments. There's no real pollutants unless they're unintentional. The best part is we give back to where humans have destroyed. It's a win-win situation.
Nothing says New England quite like lobster. You may ask, how do shipwrecks and lobsters relate? Well, lobsters need a place to grow up too. It's just like their natural habitat. Shipwrecks can be a perfect place for them.
When the lobsters hatch, they are initially in larvae form, and they float around with other plankton. When they finally get large enough, they sink to the bottom. And when they find these shipwrecks, it provides a sanctuary for them, providing them protection from larger predators. Not only does it make an excellent environment, lobsters love to make it their home. And because of that, it makes them an easy target for the lobster industry. but luckily there's strict laws that prevent overfishing. It's also beneficial to the industry because the fishermen always know where to look. The wrecks are actually beneficial to the life of the lobster. It provides a heavily armored place for them to live. Even though it isn't essential to their life as a whole, it makes for one of their preferred homes. And these homes we should be grateful for, because it allows us to find them more easily.